dugout canoes, a vessel that probably has been in use for tens of thousands
Afro,
of years.
Asiatic.
And these men are still making them as their ancestors did many centuries ago.
How long does it take to max out the canoe like this? Who is the carpenter of this boat?
The craftsmanship of the canoe makers is extraordinary. Over time, Papuans took the dugout to astonishing extremes. By making war canoes that were long and fast.
The Papuans have very long dugouts, and that is a very clever idea because every sailor knows the longer your boat, the faster you travel. The Papuan peoples, as far as I know, never had any sailing boats because they did not venture into the sea. Those canoes will capsize.
Canoes are best in calm waters, not in ocean waves. So island people added an outrigger. The outer rig widens and stabilizes the boat's thin hull, so waves hitting the boat from the side can't easily tip it over. And with a sail to catch the wind, these boats could move easily and swiftly between closer islands. And, as it turns out, they could indeed sail into the wind, putting to rest Heyerdahl's idea that they could only drift with the wind. Wind tunnel tests on a model of an ancient Polynesian vessel clearly demonstrate they could tack, which is how sailboats sail into the wind. As sailors head into the wind, they steer the boat from one diagonal direction to the opposite diagonal. Crossing the sails over allows the wind to push the boat forward on a zigzag path. Something every modern sailor knows. So island hopping by outriggers throughout the southern Pacific settled this region fairly quickly. But it's many miles of open ocean to mid-Pacific islands like Hawaii, a perilous trip for a small outrigger.
Somebody probably around 2,000, 2,500 years ago gets the idea, haha, I get rid of the outrigger, I bring another canoe hull in, I put them together, right, and I've got a catamaran, basically, a double-hulled canoe. And that was then the platform that allowed an even greater phase of expansion.
A catamaran is still one of the best sailing vessels in the world. Swift and stable, with enough deck space for crew and supplies. This double-hulled replica of an early Polynesian catamaran, called the Hokulea, is certainly sturdy enough for long ocean voyages. But how did early Polynesians navigate their immensely watery domain? Kalepa Babayan is one of the ship's senior navigators. He sails the Pacific without charts, GPS, or instrumentation of any kind, just as his ancestors once did. He learned this extraordinary skill from the last traditional navigator, a legendary sailor named Mau Kialak. Now deceased, Mao was living on a remote island in Micronesia when director Sam Lowe captured him on film.
Mao was one of a handful of navigators who still practice the ancient art of non-instrument navigation. The ability to use the rising and setting points of stars, being able to find your way across thousands of miles of ocean with no instruments, no charts, with no assistance at all from anything other than what he had memorized.
This footage shows Mao teaching these young men how to navigate by the night sky. These lumps of coral represent the rising and setting points of highly visible stars. The star called Mila, the Big Bird, is the first to rise in the east and the first to set in the west, defining two compass points. Since the axis of the Earth always points north, toward the North Star, by memorizing the position of the other rising and setting stars, the navigators always know where they are. On cloudy nights or in daylight, Mao teaches the young men to read swells and currents to keep the boat on the desired path. These are timeless navigational skills that enabled their ancestors to master the mighty Pacific.
To set out in a canoe 1,000 years ago would have taken an almost superhuman race of people to be able to endure that kind of voyage. The ocean was always their road. Going to sea for sea people is one of the most natural things that you can do.
With astonishing navigational expertise, Pacific Islanders moved swiftly and systematically across the ocean. From islands east of Indonesia, beginning about 3,000 years ago, they moved east, south, and north, settling one island after another, finally reaching Hawaii, probably around 1200 AD. To Lisa Matiso-Smith,
holy shit. You heard that?
Probably around 1200 AD.
1200 AD, Assyrian captivity of Israel.
This is nothing less.
That's what the book says it is.
One island after another, finally reaching Hawaii, probably around 1200 AD. To Lisa Matiso-Smith, this is nothing less than extraordinary.
What it tells us, this instantaneous kind of dispersal and continuous successful settlement from that point onwards, is that these people knew what they were doing. These people were prepared. They know where they're going, and they know what they need to survive when they get there. They did amazing things, in being able to navigate. And I think we're beginning to value that and recognize that skill.
Probably the last Pacific island to be settled was Easter Island. Over 1,000 miles from the nearest land, it was once thought to be as far as the Polynesians could sail.
The Polynesians had settled here and sailed to the most isolated inhabitable speck of land on the planet. And then they transformed this volcanic rock of an island into a landscape full of their ancestors.
According to island traditions, these iconic stone figures, called moais, are revered images of their ancestors, charged with sacred power. At the height of the statue-building cult, several thousand people lived on the small island. Although it's a whopping 2,500 miles from Easter Island to South America, could Polynesian sailors have launched a journey from here and reached the Americas? The possibility the Pacific Islanders did rests on two pieces of evidence. First, the ordinary sweet potato.
And the sweet potato, there's no doubt, it's a plant that was domesticated in Peru in South America. But it was in Polynesia when Europeans arrived.
We know that it was in East Polynesia. We have archaeological charred remains that are dated to about 1,000 years ago.
So how did this plant that evolved in South America end up on Pacific Islands thousands of miles away?
Somebody got to South America and brought this sweet potato back.
That the people who brought it back to the islands were Polynesians rests on a second piece of evidence, recently uncovered in Chile. Here, Dr. Jose Ramirez Aliaga is about to show Niobe that discovery, which may prove once and for all that Polynesians did reach South America long before the Spanish.
I want you to see this fantastic material I found here in the basement.
He follows Dr. Ramirez Aliaga to a storage room, where he's shown a box of ancient skulls.
Did you know this was here?
I didn't know. Not until a month ago.
So you rediscovered?
Exactly.
The skulls date from about 1000 to 1300 AD. They were discovered a century ago on an island off Chile's coast, but were stored away until Ramirez Aliaga found them. He believes the skulls are Polynesian because of their unique shape.
Okay, I'll follow you.
All right. Follow me.
What tells you that this is a Polynesian skull, possibly?
In that time, the evidence was the pentagonal shape, the roof shape in the top of this crane.
So a flatter top and then...
No. This kind of shape here, which makes vertical sides, and this like roof, double roof on top.
So it's the pitched roof.
Exactly. Our skulls in South America, the Mapuche, is round, completely round.
So not round like a South American, but pentagonal like a Polynesian, and someone who lived a hard life.
This guy has terrible diseases, actually.
Where do you see evidence of that?
These holes sometimes are related to some anemia.
Right. So some kind of a dietary deficit.
Yeah, exactly. Another trait which is very interesting is muscle attachment. Very strong. People who work very hard with the necks.
Ah, okay. So carrying things with the neck and
They're not carrying, pulling.
Slave!
So they have muscles like a bull.
Right.
From here to the shoulders.
Right.
Although the Chilean skulls do not definitively prove Polynesians reached south to the spread of the sweet potato, the evidence is mounting.
I have no doubt that Polynesians made contact with the Americas, and I think there's strong evidence to support that.
If Matiso Smith is right, long before the more celebrated European voyages of discovery, Polynesians and other native people had crossed the entire Pacific, shore to shore, and landed on its islands as naturally as seabirds.
Afro-Asiatics crossed the Beringia. Afro-Asiatics sailed the Pacific Islands.
Niobe wants to meet
Solomon had a navy.
Navigator of the Hokulea.
King Solomon was known for creating the first navy in South America and the navel of the earth, Peru, which is Jerusalem, where it had his Jerusalem, which is called Milu. So when you look at the Polynesians, they had navies, they had sailing catamarans, they sailed all throughout the Pacific. The people in the Bible, King David, King Solomon, were described to as copper colored with woolly to super curly afro hair that turned white as snow as they got older. The Polynesians are a copper color race with woolly to super curly Afro hair that turns white as they get older. The Afro-Asiatics, the Hawaiians, the Polynesians, the people in the Bible all have these characteristics, these phenotypes. They all have full beards. They try to divide us into little groups when a lot of us are related. And then when they can't do that, they put other groups in as you. So you'd never know that that's you. You know, this is a long time ago. My pal died.
Kalepa was just a teenager when he learned the art of traditional navigation.
Oh, this
And
is
now
son.
he is preparing himself and his crew for a sea journey far longer than any of his ancestors undertook. They will attempt to circumnavigate the globe. And for most of this epic journey, they will use only the traditional techniques of the master sailors of the Pacific.
See, that's the problem. When they say them circumnavigating the globe, they're correct. All they're doing is going in a circle. They're not going around the globe. They're just going in a circle. They're heading one way, and they're following that way all the way till they come around back to their destination. It's like if I was to go around my car and start walking around my car, I would leave my front door and go around the car and end up at my front door again. All I did was go in a circle. I never really went anywhere but in a circle. That's what we do when planes go. Planes don't fly to this place and then keep flying till they get around the globe and get to the other two back to the spot. They fly and then they go right in a circle and come right back around.
We have the external compass, which is made up of all the natural clues, the stars rising, stars setting, right? The moon, the planets, all rising from the horizon, and then the wind and the ocean swells. The wind and the oceanic swells all come from the same horizon, all come from the east. You just gotta internalize that rhythm and understand what direction they're coming from. We're very competent and very confident navigators. We know the Pacific real well. We know we're not going to sail off the edge of the earth. So let's get to that.
You're there.
Navigation is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From the time you take the ropes or pull your anchor to the time you arrive at land, you're constantly navigating. You only know where you are by memorizing each and every second where the canoe is traveling. So you've got to be able to internalize a clock of the universe.
On May 18th, 2014, under the Hawaiian flag, Hokulea embarked from Oahu on its 3-year circumnavigation of the globe. The journey will cover 47,000 nautical miles, with stops at 85 ports in 26 countries. Kalepa's crew will live on this open deck for months at a time. As they prepare the Hokulea, they are also preparing themselves. Of the Hokulea and its crew, this journey will demand everything.
They all are different natures.
We are finally gaining a more complete understanding of the heroic scope.
No, you just confused the shit out of everybody.
Yeah, but there's that
every chapter in that story is being enhanced by groundbreaking scientific discoveries all over the world. A new set of human remains, for example, has been recently unearthed in the Rift Valley that will, for the first time, provide us with a nearly full skeleton of one of our earliest ancestors.
This is the ear hole. This is the kneecap. We found both of them. This kind of discovery from head to toe is very rare. Look at this, the elbow. Big guy, very big guy.
And with more analysis, these bones could turn out to be among the most important Homo sapien remains ever found.
For sure, these are the people who, at about 100,000 years ago, that left Africa and populated the world.
From small groups of hunter-gatherers living a precarious existence.
Hear that? You see my DNA, hunter-gatherers, right?
From small groups of hunter-gatherers living
Hunter-gatherers
in existence in Africa, our ancestors
you have a trace of hunter-gatherers in
Earth.
You are a son of man.
An epic, often harrowing journey, an achievement almost impossible to imagine.
We have always had this idea that man back in time were primitive. What you really find out, they were capable of amazing things. They are adventurous, just as we are today.
Homo sapiens is a crazy animal. They do things which you don't believe are possible.
We are all related to this early Homo sapien. With different types of people that you see all over the world, genetically, not almost identical.
And as a species, our fates will be forever intertwined.
We evolved from someone like Lucy, probably, who was very closely tied to the natural world, to a species that all of a sudden is in charge of the Earth, of the globe.
Our powerful mind got us this far. But what lies ahead? Are we clever enough for the changes to come? In evolutionary time, we're young, only about 200,000 years old. Will we continue to evolve, or will the Homo sapien line die out with us?
We're the first species on the planet that has ever been aware of the possibility of its own extinction.
We're not indestructible. There are evolutionary dead ends. There are some species that don't survive.
We are the single most adaptable creature. We can sit on top of a rocket and shoot ourselves into space. We are incredibly adaptable. That is hopefully our salvation.
Our salvation could be in our very name. Homo sapiens, a human of the mind.
The investigation continues online in NOVA's Evolution Lab. What does natural selection have to do with how we got here? How are you connected to all life on Earth? Build a tree and find out at pbs.org/nova/labs. Also,